Welcome to our live training session number 17, part 3. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at getting our engine fired up, tuning our idle control, and our fuel and ignition timing for idle and part throttle driving. We're going to have a lot to cover, so let's jump into this live training session so we can get started. Welcome back to our live training with our Honda Civic here using AEM Infinity. In the last two videos, we set up our base session file, we went in, we created some custom layouts, and now we're ready to get the engine fired up. So let's do a quick sensor check before we do anything else. We want to make sure all the inputs that we've set up, such as our map sensor, our temp sensors, our pressure sensors, they're going to be reading correct. We want to make sure they're going to be valid, so when we start the engine up, we're going to get valid readings. We're not going to be off. So taking a look at some really quick basic data here. Looking at our map sensor, we're going to see right now, key on engine off, it's going to be showing me approximately 0 psi. So it's showing here negative 0.14 psi. I'm about 600 feet of elevation at my shop. So we're going to be seeing that the map sensor is going to be showing a little bit negative. If I was perfectly at sea level, this should be showing me exactly 0.00, but we're not. We're at a little bit of elevation. As you go up in elevation, your map sensor is going to be reading further and further negative here. So if you're really high elevation, it might be something like negative 2, negative 3 psi. If, for whatever reason right now, you're seeing positive values and you have your map sensor scaled, or if you're seeing really low negative values, something like negative 8, you either have a bad map sensor or the wiring is wrong. So you have to jump out and fix that right now before you do anything else. This looks good. Let's take a look at our throttle here. We did our throttle calibration process. Right now I'm off the throttle, all the way on the throttle. We can see it's 0 to about 100. Now we can't scale it for whatever reason better than 101 in the software here. So that's not a big deal, but 0% is critical. We can see it is scaling correctly when I'm off the throttle. See our wideband showing us full lean. That's what it should read. This is the built-in wideband sensor, so that's okay. We can see we have our Coolant Air Temp sensors reading about the same. They're both Honda sensors, so they are the original equipment sensor here from Honda on this B-Series engine. Now my ambient temperature in my dyno bay right now is showing me about 68 degrees. So we can see right now they're showing about 62, 63. That's pretty close. So the calibration scale is going to be valid for those sensors. They look good. Taking a look down here at our flex content, we're going to be seeing that I have 15% ethanol content. Now in the previous video when we were setting up our flex fuel sensor, it was registering about 27-28%. So I went in, I drained the fuel that was in here out, put some fresh 93 octane in it so that it lowered the content level down. We want to start off with the lowest content we can. In this case, 15% is going to be about as lowest as we can go. That's okay. We also can see the battery volt showing 12.2. Now this vehicle is on a battery charger right now. I always usually do that when I'm on the dyno here doing tuning, just to make sure there's going to be no problems at all, and I don't want the battery to run down because I do have the key on, and as I'm talking here, it could pull the battery down. So you can see that looks pretty good. Let's jump in here to our VE fuel tuning. Let's take a look if there's anything else in here that could be relevant. Actually jump in here to, let's go into our protect. You see oil pressure showing 0 psi. That looks good. That's another of our basic sensor data. It's 0 to 150 psi sensor. We'll see what the oil pressure reads. We're going to be filling out our oil pressure protect table here. And in fact, what I'm going to do is actually zero this out right now. That way the oil pressure protection doesn't kick and try to do anything because we haven't established what the oil pressure is on this engine. So we'll zero that out right now so we don't have to have that come into play and be an issue. I'm also going to go into my coolant protect limit table and set some of this up. If I get up to 230 degrees, I'm going to go and say I'll rev limit it at 4,000 at 239 degrees. Let's go here to 2,000 and then all the way up here at 248. Let's just say 100 RPM so it shuts it down. I'm not going to deal with the oil temp, that's not going to be used, but the lean protection here would probably also have to visit. In my vacuum, I'm going to go here and set it to something like 18 to 1 air fuel. I'm not worried about it, but in boost, I definitely want to worry about this. If I get up here to maybe